You know, the extra long demonstration sequence showing how to use the editor was pretty impressive, up until that happened. Today in Ancient DOS Games, we're taking a look at Macadam Bumper, also known as Pinball Wizard. And I think you guys can judge for yourself, just from looking at this thing, that it barely has anything to do with real pinball. The physics are completely wrong, the table dimensions are also completely wrong, the flipper sizes are comically small, and the graphics are very basic as far as pinball is concerned. All that said, I hesitate to call this a bad game, because while it doesn't really play like real pinball, it is actually still playable. You just can't play it like real pinball. It's also an interesting piece of DOS gaming history because not only is it a computerized pinball program that lets you play the game, it also has a fully featured built-in editor for making your own tables. Well, fully featured as far as the 3 included pre-made tables are concerned. The funny thing is, the limitations of the editor here help to demonstrate why not a lot of computerized pinball games have editors, and it's because real pinball tables take a huge amount of design work and rule set implementations to make them work well. There are actually really good pinball creation programs out there, Visual Pinball being the first one that comes to mind, which has actually been around for quite a while now. But it takes a lot more effort to use programs like those and make anything with them because of the sheer complexity of what you can do with them. Whereas a program like this was something that made sense to me when I was still a kid, and my 7-year-old brain was able to understand it and make custom tables with it, and I actually made quite a ton of them. Mind you, they've all been lost to the stretch of time, so we'll have to make some new ones as the video progresses. And it's kind of difficult to figure out the details of how Macadam Bumper became Pinball Wizard because there's DOS releases of both games, yet I can only find information on Accolade's 1987 release of Pinball Wizard. Either way though, the game was originally developed by ERE Informatique and is a 1 to 4 player pinball program. In terms of video support, the program independently supports Hercules 720x348 monochrome graphics, CGA 320x204 color graphics, and EGA 320x216 color graphics. I say it that way because each video mode is actually its own completely different executable program, and tables created in one graphics mode are not compatible with the others. Not to mention, they have different file name extensions as a result. That said, the Hercules mode actually looks pretty decent, since it's not just a direct copy of the other video modes like most games with Hercules support would do. In terms of audio, it only supports the PC speaker, and as far as its release date is concerned, it's still commercial and it's virtually impossible to find anymore. I was able to find a copy online for a different operating system for around $30, and that was it. So I imagine if you do run across this game online, it'll probably be similarly priced. Nowadays though, considering how much better pinball programs have gotten, there's few reasons to hunt this particular DOS program down unless you just want it for sake of collecting. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the gameplay because it's really hard to say much about it. While it looks the part, it certainly doesn't play it. As far as I can tell, the physics are based on a series of delays, i.e. the longer the ball moves for following an impact with something, the more likely it will start to behave differently. At least scoring works as you would expect, with a primary score going up as you play the ball, and a bonus score also increasing, which can be multiplied by attaining multipliers, and it's lost if you tilt. There are nudging mechanics too, but they barely work, and the frantic nature of the ball movement makes it hard to put nudging to use. Not that it would really help, given how completely unrealistic the physics are. The objective of any table made in this program is ultimately to hit targets and score all 4 major bonuses, which include a 2x multiplier, a 3x multiplier, an extra ball, and a special. Now, for those of you who don't understand the lingo, multipliers multiply your bonus score when you lose the ball, provided you haven't tilted, since tilting forfeits your bonus. Extra balls are essentially extra lives, while specials are a rather unique thing as far as gaming is concerned, in that a special is essentially a free game. Now, on location, this would mean being able to play the same machine again for free at the end of your game without having to put more coins in. Pinball Wizard emulates coinage, and you have unlimited money, so this is ultimately a pretty pointless feature here, but I guess they were just trying to be as authentic as possible. Other than that, many other common pinball features are missing from this program. There's no elevated ramps and lanes, drop targets only reset at the end of your turn, there's no bonus holding, there's technically no jackpots, though you can set up special scoring for completing various targets. You can't create modes, you can't alter the scores of objects mid-game, though some objects change scoring on their own or when certain other objects are triggered. There's no multi-ball, and yeah, this program is as simple as it gets when it comes to how complex the tables can be. At least the editor is a lot more fun to use than this part. Now I gotta be honest here, while the gameplay is broken and feels completely unrealistic, the editor is the sole reason why I enjoyed using this thing as a kid. You can actually do quite a bit with the editor, so let's go over everything that's possible. The main editor screen allows you to place various objects onto the playfield. And I should point out that while this is primarily a mouse-driven interface, I wasn't able to get the thing's mouse support working under DOSBox, so I had to use the keyboard to move the cursor, which is painfully slow, though you can actually press multiple keypad directions at the same time, and it actually moves the cursor faster. The objects you can place are actually fairly straightforward, including flippers, rollovers, spinners, drop targets, and various types of slingshots, bumpers, and obstacles. Now, one of the more curious objects you can place, though, are the spinning discs, which cause the ball's trajectory to change when it rolls over top. And the inclusion of these is curious because there's not actually a lot of real pinball machines which have these. To place an object, you simply drag and drop it onto the playfield, whereas to remove an object, you simply drag and drop it from the playfield back into the part selection area on the side. The most aspects of the program can actually be accessed with the function keys, which you can see listed in the bottom corner. In order from F1 to F8, these keys will access the playfield painting system, scoring values, physics settings, scoring combos, file operations, playfield erasing options, control configuration, and the last button switches back from the editor into play mode. The painting system is interesting in that it allows you to shape and color the playfield however you want, but in the process can switch between two different drawing modes, decoration and obstacle. Anything drawn in decoration mode will, as the name suggests, only be decorative, meaning the ball can pass right over it. Anything drawn in obstacle mode will be solid to the ball and will act like a wall. You can tell the difference between what's decoration and what's not by holding the F2 key down, which highlights all solid parts of the playfield in white. And needless to say, using this part of the program without a mouse is extremely time-consuming, considering how slow the cursor moves and how long it takes to cycle between all the different colors in the EJ palette. The scoring values can also be set for all objects which can generate points in some manner. This includes both points to immediately give to the player, and points which will be put into the player's bonus score and can thus be multiplied under the right circumstances. It's important to note that for drop targets, the scoring indicated is per target hit. So every bank of 4 targets has the potential to score 4 times per ball, since the targets won't come back until the ball is over. There's also separate scoring for when the various rollovers are lit versus non-lit. In terms of physics settings, you can adjust slope, tilt, speed, elasticity, and something called stroboscope. Now, the actual slope of a real table determines how fast the ball accelerates towards the drain, but in this program, given its wonky physics, slope actually affects how long it takes for the ball to go from no downwards acceleration to full downwards acceleration. Tilt determines how much you can nudge the table before it tilts, with the minimum setting never tilting at all. Speed determines how fast the ball moves overall. Elasticity determines how far the ball will travel once it bounces off of something before it will start to fall. The last setting, stroboscope, is a very strange thing that makes the ball's appearance pulse in and out. I don't get it. You can also adjust the number of balls per game from the screen. The final screen of note allows you to define up to 8 combinations of objects, which will award various bonuses if they're all hit at least once, or completely cleared in the case of drop targets. You can not only set up what score and bonus values to award, but this is also how you trigger things like extra balls and specials. This is also the extent of being able to set up custom logic, which is why every table made in this program basically comes down to just hitting every target on the playfield. Yeah, there's really nothing more to say about this thing. It's a horribly outdated pinball simulation and construction program with terrible physics. Now, it actually wasn't the only program from the 80s like this, as another program called the Pinball Construction Set from Electronic Arts had been released even earlier on and is often considered to be superior to this program in terms of overall gameplay and even in terms of its features. But I didn't have that one growing up. I had Pinball Wizard. And given how lost to time this game has become, I felt it was important to show that even when the physics are wrong, it's still possible to glean some enjoyment out of these things. Nowadays though, unless you're a hardcore collector of DOS games, there's really no reason to look into this one. If you do happen to still have this game and want to give it a go in DOSBox, you need to set a very low fixed cycles count, otherwise various aspects of the game will simply run way too fast. I was using a setting of 300 cycles. Now you also need to set the machine type to exactly match the kind of graphics you want to use, which in most cases will probably be EGA. Setting anything greater than EGA will cause the gameplay to become much more choppy than it already is, and will cause the sound to glitch up too. Also, the Pinball Wizard release from Accolade has some disk-based copy protection thrown in, par for the course as far as Accolade titles are concerned, so be prepared to deal with that if you want to run this game from an original disk. Anywho, that's all for today's episode of Ancient DOS Games. Quick episode since I didn't have a lot of time to work on one this week, and next Saturday is a filler video to make up for not doing a filler video during Edutainment Month. Not sure what I'm going to do for it, but I have a few ideas, so be sure to stay tuned to see what I cook up.